she's kind of almost like going back and forth a little bit, so she'll be in and out. And just make sure. Hey, Beth.
Hi, Denise. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. And did I see Sherry? And hi, Edith and Robin.
Good afternoon.
Oh, Sherry, welcome. I thought you weren't going to be able to make it.
Nope, I'm able to make it.
Oh, awesome. So we will go ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order at 2:01, which is really good. Everyone should have an agenda, and I think that's it. And a set of minutes, obviously. So did everyone get a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to ask someone to make a motion to accept the minutes in a second, and then we can discuss it.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who was that? Brittany?
Brittany.
Okay.
I'll second. It's Alexis.
Okay, thank you, Alexis, and welcome. Discussion. Any discussion or questions on the minutes from January? Okay. None being noted. Motion to approve. Vote to approve. Just raise your hand. All right. Okay, Edith. We're looking forward to hearing the update on the pamphlet.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So first, I just want to say thank you, everyone that provided their feedback. I know the group was able to submit some comments and some ideas that they had for the pamphlet. So the Alliance, I believe Beth, Jesse Gleckel, Denise, Robin Townsier's from DPH, and myself, and Lori Johnson from Converge Marketing were able to have a smaller meeting and discuss some changes that still could be made to the brochure, some changes to the language, making sure that the images were accurate and portrayed the information properly. Some of the ideas were including more gender inclusive language, making sure that the language is more sensitive and sympathetic to victims, providing info that may be helpful to those that without insurance, and just good an overview of each section and just making sure that those are accurate and portrayed in the right way. So I believe that Jesse from the Alliance and Lori recently connected, and they're going to be working closely together just to make sure that those images and messages are correct, and that we can push forward. I wasn't sure if Lori or Beth or Denise, if I missed anything, or you guys had any additional comments, or Robin?
I don't have additional comments. I just want to thank everybody for your responsiveness and your willing to hear us out and make some changes. I think Jesse did send over, I want to say maybe even it was yesterday, but did send over a good outline, and we're happy to continue to be in partnership to provide any additional updates or support as necessary on the project. But we really appreciate everybody being responsive.
So do we have an idea, like, would love to have, like, for the May meeting, like a kind of sort of at least a finished or a draft of a finished product that we could show everybody? Do you think that's a reasonable timeline?
Hi, everyone. This is Lori. I'll chime in. Yeah, I think that's more than reasonable. So I'm hoping that, based on the progress that we've made in just a few days, that potentially even mid-April we can.
Okay, great.
So that gives us, 4 or 5 weeks from today. And then what would be really helpful is if we can distribute it, if it is done, mid-April, rather than waiting until May 11th until the next meeting. So,
Yes, and that would be lovely. I think we talked about doing that, in fact.
okay, yes.
Yeah.
So,
So that-
we'll target, just looking at my calendar here quickly. Yeah, sometime around April 15th or sometime around tax day, 15/30. Don't forget your taxes, everyone.
And that way everyone have a chance to review it and can provide final comments. And because it would be, I would really like to see us be able to really put this out by the end of this fiscal year, which is June. Does that sound like a reasonable goal, Lori and Beth and Edith? Okay.
To me, it's not, yeah, it sounds very
Okay.
reasonable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Any questions? Okay. So we were getting there.
Right.
Let-
So I think
Thank-
I'm going to leave. I don't think you need me anymore. Is that
Thanks.
okay with you, Edith and Denise?
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, Lori. Thank you so much
Okay.
for joining us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Lori, and for all your work.
No worries. Thank you guys so much for being so helpful. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I asked, I have not, I have to be honest, I have not really talked with Linda about the website. There's just not been, there's just so much going on right now that we've not had time, but I did ask if she could provide an update on where we were at with the website.
Yes, sorry. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everyone. I am a little embarrassed to say that I think I partially dropped the ball on an assignment for this website. So if you go into the Judicial Branch website, the Judicial Branch homepage, under Careers and Opportunities, which is on the left-hand side, you click on that, this Sexual Assault Forensic Examiner program does show up. So the web board did exactly what they promised to do, which is to have it point to the program. What I did not do was that we promised to provide language for that page that is specifically towards individual medical programs who wanted to join the program. So right now, it is the same information that is if you go into the Office of Victim Services Victim tab and click on Safe, it's the same information. So that is, that will zoom to the top of my have to get done list. And I'll certainly, when I get it, share it, Denise, you and I can talk more about this on Friday. And then the other piece that they said they will do, again, if you go to the Judicial Branch page, there is this section on the bottom called Latest News, Notices, and Updates. And when we have our next RFP process, that will be highlighted. The opportunity to apply or review the RFP will be highlighted in that section, which is very prominent on the Judicial Branch webpage. So it's up. I mean, I think it's great. It happened much faster. Apparently it's been up for a while. I just need to get them the language. So, and again, Melissa Farley has been just a fantastic help with getting this done.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Does anybody have questions for Linda? Okay.
Denise, before you, Edith, I just wanted to say again, I was on mute and it took me a minute. I'm trying to still eat my lunch, which is why I was off camera to swallow my apple. But thank you so much for moving this forward, the brochure, and being so open to the feedback. It's going to be a really great document. So I appreciate that.
Oh, no, thank you for everyone for the feedback. It's very helpful to make sure that we're getting the correct message out there. So no problem.
Yes, and I would like to echo what Linda said, and I will go back to that for just a minute. As I said to Edith, it's if I was getting some feedback about need to change this or incorporate that, if I heard all that from the SAFE program, which I could, but that's kind of hard. And so I was very appreciative of the openness and the flexibility. They want to make sure, as we all do, that what we end up putting out there for our patients is the best possible thing we could put out there. So, and they've been working really very focused to get this done, and working in a very collaborative manner. So I'm very appreciative as well.
Thank you. Appreciated. Thanks.
So now the SAFE program. And that's probably where the bulk of our talk is going to be for the remainder of this meeting. I'm not sure if everyone was aware that Patricia Moriarty, who is our training manager, retired last week. And it was very hard to see her go, but her position was posted. It did close on Monday, this last Monday. And, we're not at a place where we can say something about it, but we will definitely report out at the May meeting. Linda, I don't know if you want to add to that or not.
Apple.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just remember these are now being taped. That was pretty unprofessional. No, we were very fortunate that the judicial branch understands the importance of this position, and they approved the posting of this position prior to Pat's leaving. Those of us in state service know you can't have overlap because of various position reading and all of that. So we didn't. It's such a unique position. It's such an extraordinarily unique skill set. We didn't expect to get a lot of candidates. We did receive candidates, and we received applications, and we will be interviewing next Friday. And once the decision is made, Denise, I think we could probably send it out once. Okay,
sure.
Yeah, once everything is moves along the process, we can certainly inform this group, and our hope is that if everything works, the new person will be here at our May 11th meeting.
Thank you, Linda, and I apologize for catching you.
No problem. I'll stop eating now, so I
don't. So one of the other things, and Denise Poncini, our legal advisor, is not able to be here today, but what I'd like to do is start talking with all of you about the fact that we have we are in a place where our memorandums of agreement with the judicial branch with many of the hospitals actually expired in June of 2021. And although there was an extension offered, only a few there were a few hospitals that took that up. And those hospitals, that include, by the way, all of our participating hospitals, they are all extended for a couple of years from July of 2021. And I should also say that there were a few non-participating hospitals that also signed extensions of their MOA. However, that did leave us in a situation where many of the hospitals in the state cannot currently send staff to train as SAFEs because they have to have the memorandum of agreement. And so for many reasons, including efficiency and largely for the same reasons the hospitals themselves have formed systems. We went to a hospital system memorandum of agreement. I'm sure Denise Poncini would agree that it has been an adventure. So what I'm hoping to do is when we come together in May and have her on with us, we'll be able to provide a report that kind of explains some of the situations and issues that we've run into with this. I'm still hopeful that we will get those signed, but they will not almost certainly not be signed before the spring class. So unfortunately, we will not have most of our hospitals able to participate from the state. I will say that there's more than what we thought. There are 36 hospitals and affiliated campuses, divided among 12 different systems, some of which are individual systems. It's interesting that a single hospital would become a healthcare system by itself, but that has been the case with several. But you also have the larger systems that incorporate multiple hospitals. So we have been working with, and I want to stop here and thank Marielle Daniels, who was instrumental in helping us to get some of our points of contact with the systems. And we'll report out a little bit more detail next our meeting in May to let you know. Yeah.
Can I just clarify? So I heard you say you have all the MOAs with your participating hospitals, which means you can still send safes when they request. You're still trying to work with those facilities as well about educating new safes, or are they covered for education of new safes?
They are the ones whose MOAs expired and were not extended cannot send staff to train as sexual assault forensic examiners at this time.
Right, but I'm just trying to make the clarification between a participating hospital in the program who can also, activate a safe.
Oh, yes, yes.
And what I'm hearing is there are hospitals that aren't part of that who right now can't send new safes to get trained. But I'm wondering about all the participating program hospitals. Can they train?
Yes.
Okay, so all
the participating hospitals can, in fact, send staff to train as safes. They actually signed the extension.
Okay, so it's the other hospitals that aren't able to activate the program that we have. Okay, thank you.
And so in the May meeting, we're going to have this become one of our points of conversation with our legal representative there to help guide the conversation and to be able to provide some explanations for that.
And I'm sure your note about, hospitals that don't have other hospitals as a system, I think they have other practices in their, you know what I mean? It becomes more of a continuum of healthcare that becomes their system. So, for instance, a Bristol hospital, right?
Yep, exactly. That's a good example.
Itself, but it has other things underneath its system that maybe aren't an acute care hospital.
Yes. Yep.
But then so when you have the others with multiple acute cares and all the rest.
Yes. So obviously our MOAs are intended to be for all the facilities in the state who could, by statutory definition, meet the requirement of basically a hospital with an emergency department, an acute care facility. So you have, and I'll just use one of our participating hospitals, Middlesex Hospital, as an example. They have two campuses. They have Marlborough and they have Shoreline. And
they actually have the third along. They have Marlborough, Middlesex, and the one on 95. I forget which town it is.
Are you thinking Shoreline and Guilford?
Yeah, that's Guilford.
Yeah, that would be, that's.
I'm pretty sure Middlesex only has the two.
No, Middlesex has the third one on 95. I know people work there.
I don't know that that's an ED though. It may just be
a freestanding ED. They transfer patients to me.
Yeah. There's two Shorelines
somewhere.
Yeah, there's the Shoreline in Guilford, which is affiliated with Yale. And then there's, you're thinking of Shoreline that's used to be in Essex, and now it is on 95.
It's the same exit as that mall.
Yes, yeah, I know
it's in
which
Westbrook.
one. Yeah,
it's in Westbrook.
Actually, when it was in Essex, personal note, that's where I worked. I actually came from that facility. I used to work at that facility, and I came into this position from there. So we'll talk more about that and kind of sort of the implications, and it's relevant to this particular committee because it does, it really is relevant to who can practice and who can train as a safe in the state of Connecticut. So in the May meeting, we'll go into more details and kind of sort of give an update as to where we're at with those.
Denise, this actually came up. It's Alexa. Sorry to.
Oh, that's okay. That's great.
So this actually came up, I think it was Saturday night for me. So when there isn't a safe on at a participating hospital and we choose, okay, we're going to proceed with the kit. How is this being viewed? Because my impression a few years ago, when we were at in-person meetings and we talked about this was kind of did not do as well as when there was a safe involved. And I personally had a disagreement with the nursing staff about who could collect all the evidence and the implications.
The statute allows for any medical provider to collect a kit if a patient wants one done. So if you can't get a safe, you still need to do it.
But is the no, it was what the provider, who the provider is. Does a registered nurse who has just an RN,
Yes.
Is that
They can begin to do the kit, yes.
And
anybody can open the technical guidelines and a kit and move forward.
And then the only thing then that the physician or APP would need to do is the GU exam?
Yes, because an RN would not do like a speculum exam. So that would be a provider role.
But all the rest would be fine, even if they're not safe. Like the RN could just
Correct.
go through it and do everything, and it's
Correct.
And it would still be considered as good as if a safe was there.
Well, that's arguable, but it's not. The state wants patients to get kits done. It does not.
Yes, I'm saying as
that a
opposed.
state must do it.
I'm saying as opposed to making the, I guess, physician APP providers do it.
If
It
your
doesn't
hospital
close.
wanted them to do it, they can, but an RN can also do the majority of the work aside from what we just pointed out.
Got it. So we basically have to change our policy, which still reads as physician and AP is need to do it because the RN could do it.
That's
Okay.
the decision you guys need to make internally, but it
Right, but
could
by the
be-
statute, it would be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we've always been very careful to ensure that when we're teaching that, and actually I spoke to a couple of the safes about this last week when they were training, to make sure that they are differentiating between the RN role and the safe role, because there is a difference between the two. And in the RN role, the provider would come in by hospital policy. I from what I've seen, hospital policies routinely cover providers coming in and doing the genital portion of the exam, because RNs, it's not their scope of practice. It's a safe scope of practice, but not an RN scope of practice to do a speculum exam. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great, thanks.
Okay. Okay. So, any other questions on that? Okay. So moving on to, and Edith, I'm going to kind of sort of draw you in on, this is the list of safes in Connecticut. So I actually, after our last meeting, I forwarded to, what I was talking about, what I had essentially presented to you all. I forwarded that to our legal person, and Denise Poncini, and she basically worked with it a little bit, and I'm just gonna see if I can share my screen here. Can everybody see that?
Now I guess. It took a
Okay,
second.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sometimes like, okay, so this page right here, eligible to practice, basically this is what Denise was working on, and I put the date in. So as of March 2022, the following healthcare providers, and then on a second page, it literally lists them by in alphabetical order, last name, first name. And my question, oops, sorry. I didn't really, I apologize. I didn't see this very bottom one. But basically we'll have it updated 2 times a year through the Department of Public Health. So I apologize. I didn't get to that piece of it. So what happened? I'm trying to integrate all of Pat's stuff into all of my stuff. So yeah, drop the ball on that one. My apologies. So let me stop sharing here. Okay. So Edith, my question to you is, if I sent this to you, would you have a place on the DPH website that we could put that on and then send that link out through Mariel through the Connecticut Hospital Association? Or
Yes.
or would you, Mariel, just how would you discuss this before, where you would share the link but you wouldn't?
I wouldn't put it on our website because our website just doesn't really, it's not that kind of, I don't know, our members don't use our website in that way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
For us, it's not worth, I wouldn't say it's worth us trying to integrate it into ours, but yes, if DPH was to put it, or any agency that you guys decide is the right agency to house it,
okay,
I'm happy to circulate that, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, and yeah, you can send that to me, and I believe there's a designated person at DPH that helps me post on our website, specifically on the sexual violence prevention page. So I can talk to her and see if she can help me post that information online.
Okay.
So that shouldn't be a problem. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Linda, question for you. Is this something that has to be approved by the chief court administrator before we do this?
Well, I think to be easy, if you look at the language of the charge of this group, if this advisory committee wants it posted, that's the recommendation. I then take the recommendation with the list, forward it to Judge Carroll, and receive his permission for it. I think that's probably the cleanest way.
That's what I thought. Okay, so with everyone's permission, then I will go ahead and clean that up a little bit and then send it to Linda, who will send it to Judge Carroll. And then once it goes through that approval process, then Edith, I will send it to you and we can post it. Does that sound okay to everyone?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, okay. So the next thing, which is not on your agenda, it's on mine, is the SAFE program.
Denise, before I know we're kind of galloping through this agenda, but going back to that list, and probably of SAFEs, it's probably, and again, you and I were supposed to talk prior to this meeting, and my day was just taken away by other stuff. But so I apologize for raising this in front of the group. But one of the pieces that you and I have talked about is at some point, we almost have too many to maintain. So my question is, it's easy for us to talk about this list. Hi, Charmise. But the back of this list is that there is a fair amount of maintenance that has to go on through the SAFE program so that we can maintain we can uphold the statutory requirement that each and every one of these individuals attends a competency day annually. That's repetitive, but so everybody attends a competency day annually, and after 3 successful completions, their certification. Denise, before we kind of run through, because again, this is part of this advisory committee's role, I just would like to if you could take a minute and talk about what it takes to keep the time involved to keep these individuals within their certification, within their certificate, and kind of the challenges as we go forward and more people join take the training and not join the program. I think we have time. So with people's patience, I think this is, now that list came up, I think this is a really important piece for the advisory committee to hear. And again, I apologize for just kind of throwing it at you.
Sure. So mostly the annual competency days take place in June. There's some other makeup days throughout the summer and frankly throughout the year. They have all the way from the beginning of June to the end of the year to get the training done. It is a full day of training in the morning. We, we do register people. They're all reached out, all 100 plus now who are not in the program are reached out. There's a reach out to them. They'd have to register. We track the registration. We do the training. It's on site. This is one of the few things we can do on site still. So the morning is spent literally reviewing all the statutes, all the new statutes, as well as the International Association of Forensic Nurses education guidelines. And it's not just them sitting there. They have to ask questions. They have to give examples from their own practice. And I can ask anybody in the class anything from the training curriculum. It is all fair game, and they know it. So we do that the first half of the morning. Second half of the morning is spent reviewing the technical guidelines. And again, they're asked, it's a question and answer, basically what page is this? How do you do it? What do the technical guidelines say about this? So they all have to go through the IFN education guidelines, the technical guidelines review, and we actually get that done by lunchtime. The groups and we basically, our groups are small enough that we can do this. Our larger groups are 8 to 10. We do multiple, like you said, we do multiple trainings. I think our largest was 12. Our smallest has been 5 to 8. So they do this training. They do get a certificate that says they've completed the training. We do scan. They actually fill out a form. It's a step-by-step audit so that everybody's being trained consistently on the same steps. In the afternoon, with regard to the kits, they go through the CT100, the CT400, literally the entire exam. They're made to demonstrate. They sometimes will ask to teach everybody else how to do the evidence collection. So it's very much a hands-on involved training. And like I said, at the end of the day, they get a certificate. We do have copies, scanned copies of their checkoff list, as we call it, the training checkoff list, as well as their signed certificate that says they completed it for this year. And we have a tracking document that tracks all of them. It is extensive. And it's a Word document now. I foresee this going to an Excel spreadsheet in the near future. So as we get more and more in, issues is we tell them, we have to have up-to-date emails for them. So we also have them fill out a contact sheet with their any changes in their information, because we do have to be able to reach them in order to invite them for training. And we also basically take, if somebody decides they don't want to be a part of the training anymore. I just had somebody who's currently on that list just reach out to me this week and tell me she was retiring and she was going to miss it, but she was not going to be returning this summer because she's retiring. We have people who move out of state. We have people who become travelers. So each of these people let me know that they're not going to, if they're not going to do this, I actually print out that email so that I have documentation. If somebody's not keeping their certificate up to date, I have that documentation as to why they're not keeping their certificate up to date. So, and all these are scanned and filed. So, Linda, does that answer the question?
I think so, and I think the other piece that I would like for you to elaborate a little on is, and it goes to Alexis' question in some respects. If there is a Hartford Hospital nurse who is on that list, then there is an expectation that they can pick up, and it's more than opening up the technical guidelines and then just collecting the evidence. But I also think, Denise, if you could elaborate a little, because it's more than kind of this rote training of sitting down and going through step after step. But if you could elaborate a little on corrections is too strong of a word, but you really can see in the course of a year if some misconceptions or mislearning and how we go about in an annual basis correcting that. So what sounds like it could be a rote exercise just to get through, we're actually continuing to keep the proficiency up as high as we can on an annual basis.
Sure. Well, of course, anytime you get a group of ER nurses in a room, and they're not all from the same class, I should mention that these are all from different classes. They talk cases, they talk issues. They do a lot of what ifs. A lot of the questions, I have like pages of questions they come up with. It's amazing what they can come up with, but they talk among themselves about how to handle one hospital. Somebody from one hospital will say, well, our policy says this, and another says our policy says that. A lot of it is around consent issues. There's a ton of consent issues. It just is amazing. And it's not really so much the mechanics. It's not really the mechanics of evidence collection. The mechanics of it is actually very straightforward and does not take that long. What comes into play is the mind state, the capacity to consent, the situations in which they find themselves in. Law enforcement, what do you do when you have something from out of state? And so we do defer to the technical guidelines for all these answers, and then we write down what is not covered. But sometimes I will punt those questions like to Charmise. You've heard a couple of them. I know that we've talked to advocates about a couple of them, some of these advocate centers, because sometimes the questions are advocates, like why does one agency respond, and why does another agency not respond? Why are they asking the patient if they want it? So there is a real discussion and dialogue that goes on in these rooms, in these trainings. Kit tracking came up this past summer, and one of the questions is, I'll give this as an example. The question on the table was, who is responsible for creating the account for kit tracking? Half the room says the nurse, half the room says the patient. So we go to the technical guidelines. We say, okay, this is who sets it up. And so it's not rote by any means. This is a very interactive discussion. I know I've talked to Danielle Lengren a couple of times. We've actually invited her to come in and talk a little bit about, on these dates, about kit tracking and how that actually works. Linda, I don't know how much more detail you want me to go into.
Well, I don't, and again, I'm hoping that was somewhat helpful to frame what the purpose of the list was and what it means to have your name on that, or to be a safe with your name on that list. But I just wanted, since we had the time, just a little more expansion, which I found helpful. I hope others did also.
Does anybody have questions for me about how we do this, or suggestions? Because I'm all about process improvement. Okay. All right, that sounds good. So I will get that list I will finish it up, get it over to Linda so we can get that to the chief court administrator, and so that hopefully by the May meeting this can actually be up on the DPH website and available to safes and hospitals. Edith, that does bring me to one other question, if you don't mind. Is there a way that, because if that list is up, I already know, and with respect to Charmise, I know you asked about having a list of those who would be experts. So I know the legal system is wanting to have access, at least to a certain degree. One of the things I think we will need to do is work out maybe an audit, like a checkout system. Does that make sense to everybody?
What do you mean by that, Denise? a checkout.
I'm thinking, like, who is logging on to access it? Is it the hospital? I don't know if there's how to with regard to the website, who would have access to it? Is it something that, you know, an attorney could log on and access?
My guess is if it's on an agency website, everybody can access. I mean, I don't think they can restrict that unless it's in some kind of portal.
Right. I agree with Marielle. It's at least for the DPH website, it's to the public. So I'm sure if you're looking for that information, you'll have access to it.
Why can't it just be a list, Denise? I mean, I know we're fancy with everything being online now, but some things are still, you know, just that good old fashioned Word document, you know, listing, here's a name and here's a contact number.
I guess, Denise, I'm hearing you're more concerned with who is going to have the ability to see it.
Yes, because the original decision of this group was to limit it to healthcare, the safes and the hospitals. And I don't know that can be actually done.
I mean,
it would be if it was a list provided to the division. We have an intranet, which is an internal webpage that's only accessed by members of the division. So the listing can go on there. So for the division, we do have a way to restrict access.
And Denise, if you just wanted us to circulate lists when you're ready for a list to be with all the stipulations you want a hospital to know about the list, we can do it that way instead of offering a link to a website. It's really however you guys want to do it. I understand what you're trying to say about access. So if putting it on a public state website is going to be a concern, then maybe we need to rethink that as a group. So like if Charmise puts it on her intranet and we only send it to hospitals, that is limiting it. I mean, that's a thought is what I'm trying to say.
What do the safes feel? This is Sherry. I'm just thinking of the nurses. I'm from Connecticut Nurse Association. Like what have the safes? Do they know that their name would be posted publicly? I think that's where I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yes, they have been told the annual competency days and even in the interviews these days, you know, when we interview people for the SAFE program, any type of SAFE training, this is reviewed, and and one of the things that we have assured them, because some of them have expressed concern about access beyond their name, and we have said there will be like no emails, no phone numbers, no hospital identification, just last name, first name, alphabetical order. That's it.
So how's that helping get the name? How is that helping the hospital reach them though, if they need a
Well,
safe?
I think the point is that if a hospital employs them, they can verify they are current with the training. So they would know more from a HR perspective and a credential perspective that this person who may be presenting themselves as a SAFE in Connecticut has actually the SAFE Connecticut qualifications.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we actually have seen, and this has been true in the last few weeks, we've seen an influx of people of healthcare providers who have had SAFE or SANE training outside of Connecticut. And one of them is coming into the program, but she actually sent me a certificate that actually had the state's Board of Nursing designation on it. It was an actual license given by the Board of Nursing in that state. And she had gone through that state's entire certification program. So we did have a discussion about that. But since then, I've heard from others. I've had emails from others who have said, you know, how, and they talk about reciprocity here in Connecticut and how that works. And I've had to explain that it actually does not. So it's been a difficult, I'll be honest, it's been a difficult conversation with a few people. They don't understand that there's a kind of sort of a viewpoint of once a SAFE, always a SAFE that's out there. And it doesn't matter where you did the training, you can go anywhere and practice as a SAFE without realizing that laws are different, processes are different, evidence collection is different, everything's different. And so that's what I've had to spend. I've actually spent a lot of time explaining to people, and you know, I had somebody last week who said she was teaching worldwide, and so, you know, it's just, and so I've had to kind of pull it back and say, okay, so here in Connecticut is a little different. You know, we have these technical guidelines we do go by. So, but they will practice as safes if and do whatever they were previously taught to do, if not. If we don't have, that's kind of why we're doing all this.
No, I understand. I was just wondering with the list, if the list is for people to contact them and they have no contact.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
You know,
it's not, it's just,
I get why the list is, but I was wondering if, you know, for verification purposes, that's one thing, or if it's a for contact, using them as a, you know, expert witness, if you can't, you know, if there's no contact information. I just want to know from the nurse's perspective, do they realize that their name is going to be public versus is it a private list that the hospital is going to get shared to? Is it a private list that's going on the intranet of the DOJ? You know, those type of things. They're very different than public. Your name is out there.
Yes. So they know that their name is going to be on a list that's housed at DPH, and it no other identifying information, and it's for the purpose of, so hospitals can verify if they put this on their resume.
But perhaps you need to go back to them, because I think what we're hearing is posting it on DPH's website is not going to be what it's going to make it more public and more accessible to just random people. So maybe you should go back and say, these are different options, right? That the hospital association could just send it out and DOJ is happy to just distribute internally on their own. So if they've already approved a DPH list, I'm sort of thinking you need to get different input from them. I'm sure they'll probably agree, but I feel like if that's what we're coming to terms on today, that maybe they all need to be consulted again.
So Edith, is there a way? Let me go back to the original question. Is there a portal through which hospitals have access and healthcare professionals have access, but no one else?
So far, I don't believe so.
And honestly, Denise, I think in theory, I think it might be better for us to control the distribution because we can provide more context than DPH can. Even if they had a hospital portal, I just don't know that you're going to get the same result that you want.
Okay. Let me
ask. I know Edith seems totally happy to help, which thank you, Edith, but I'm almost thinking it's not attaining the goals you want.
Yeah. If you want something more like filtered, I guess that's what I'm hearing. I'm not sure if our website has that capacity.
Okay, so why don't we go in that direction? Because what I would like to do, and you all can just chime in whether you agree or if you have other ideas or suggestions, because this is new, I would like to start there and just have it go through CHA as a filtered, this is for hospitals, this is for the healthcare providers who are on it, and let's see how that works before we toy with it and see what else we want to do with it, if it's okay with the nurses, because that's the understanding they're being given. And nobody has come to me and said, I have a problem with this. They all kind of like, okay, yeah, I see the point of that.
That way it's not public. It's just provided to the right, the right organizations that need it. And I think, Denise, too, again, if we circulate, we can provide all the context around what the expectations for use of that list is. It's not meant to be a list, and it's a snapshot in time. You'll only get another at this part of the year after the trainings happen. So it'll be very clear on what the point of the use of this snapshot in time list is.
Yeah, and that would be perfect to do it that way. And let's go through a couple of cycles of this, get through a year of it And then we can reevaluate if this is where we want to keep it or if we want to look at other options. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I apologize because I think maybe in the beginning I didn't know that was maybe the refined goal. I thought we were really just like publishing the list as a public list. But I understand now through more of our conversations in the last few meetings that that's not essentially the goal.
Yeah. And it may be down the road that, like Sharmise, I know you talked about having an expert list, and maybe that could be developed down the road from that list on a voluntary basis, So there's that. And
Denise,
then
I'm sorry, if I could just say, one thing is whatever list is provided to DCJ, hopefully it is people who are kind of volunteering to be on the list, because whoever's on that list is going to receive calls. So if they don't want to be, like if they don't want to be contacted for providing testimony, they shouldn't be on that list. So rather than just giving DCJ a list of safes, let's give them safes that are willing to be contacted.
Exactly.
To review files or actually give testimony.
Yeah. And that's what, hopefully we will have that list for you down the road.
Okay.
Those who would like to do this, and it would be voluntary. It would only be those who wanted to be on that particular list.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. And I do know that there are some, I'll say this, we're not there yet, but I do know that there are people who might be interested in doing work like that. They're looking for opportunities to grow. So the other thing is, and I know we're getting on for time just a little bit, so I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit. First of all, Sherry, thank you so much for that email you sent out to the Connecticut League for Nursing. We had 13 applicants, 10 of which were a direct result from that email. They've all interviewed, they've all accepted positions with the program, and that almost doubled our numbers in size right there. So yeah, and we're very, very excited about this, and hopefully we can reach back out this summer, because this summer will be the next application coming out. It's usually in July. It comes out for the fall class, so maybe in late June I could reach out to you for the Connecticut Nurses Association that we talked about previously, and if there's like something that you need from me, any additional information, because I think you had some questions that you had from the organization.
Yes, and I have some stuff ready to go, and so in June, connect with me, and I'm more than happy because they already have it like approved that this can happen. And the Connecticut League of Nursing can also send it at that time too. So they're more than happy to do it at both times.
That's beautiful. That has been so helpful. And I think honestly, that has been a game changer for us. So thank you for doing that. And now training. Mariel, I had talked earlier about asking you if you could, we've gone from program, we're going to move over to training, the training. And so we've been working with Mariel and the Connecticut Hospital Association on training. So I've asked her to give a little bit of update.
Thanks, Denise. So for folks, just a reminder, Denise obviously runs the SAFE program trainings, and we always try to help her with word on that too. But right now we're focused with OVS on helping the other staff at hospitals. So any nurse, any provider in the emergency room that needs kind of a walkthrough of the expectations in Connecticut, and an understanding of the technical guidelines and the difference between who a SAFE is and who isn't a SAFE, and how to respond to a patient who reports to their facilities with a report of sexual assault with like an evidence collection kit done. We've been trying to do some virtual opportunities. So we began in February. Of course, we were coming off. Now, when we planned those dates, we didn't know the surge was going to hit the way it hit at the end of last year and into the beginning of this year. So we did not get as many people signed up for the February offerings as we probably could have due to the fact that the hospitals were just overwhelmed and busy. But we have 2 March dates coming up on the 22nd for providers, and there's a March 23rd training for nurses. And the nurses is a 3-hour training because at the end, OVS actually goes through the kit after the 2-hour presentation. The provider is just the 2-hour presentation on the materials, no going through the kit. We've done really well this month with the nurses. We had about 30 as of yesterday, so we still have marketing left to do. And that's a really good number. And I would say too, and I shared this with Denise and OVS, it's across the facilities. It's a majority of the facilities have 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 people signed up. And of course, we plan to continue to offer more opportunities as our schedules allow. We haven't picked any dates yet beyond the March date. But we will, and we've had already people ask that if they couldn't make February or March, will there be other opportunities? So I think we're getting off the ground well with that. The provider side, as Alexis kind of told us a while ago, is a little harder to get some providers signed up for our trainings. We've enlisted the help of the Connecticut College of Emergency Physicians to help get our marketing materials out beyond just our membership. We have had some interest from various types of providers. So it could be an APRN, could be a PA or a physician. And right now we're hoping to get more people signed up for the March 22nd program. We are offering it from 5 to 7 in the evening, which sometimes helps with providers. And with nursing, we've tried to vary mornings and later afternoon, almost into the evening, just again to help people who may want to try to get, if they work nights or they work mornings, we don't want to conflict with their normal schedule. I will say we've offered credits for these trainings. The way the provider credits work, though, we take a hit at CHA if we don't get enough people signed up, and right now we are struggling on the provider one, so we may have to cancel it if we actually don't get the allotted number. Now, we spoke with OVS already. We're not concerned about trying to go forward and offer without credits, in which case, even if we only had 2 or 3 people sign up, we'd happily hold the program in that situation. But we may not be able to sustain offering credits, and if we're not going to get enough people. So unfortunately, it doesn't work that way for the nursing side. It's much easier. So I didn't realize that going in. That's something I've learned about the way provider credits work. So it's a little bit of a detriment to the way we're planning it. So that may be something we'll eliminate going forward and see if that gets us, more people and that we can hold the programs more consistently. Denise, I don't know if I missed anything.
No, I think they were looking for more dates. The March dates, I think, are the only ones we have right now. But I think the intent is to have this be an ongoing training, just a permanent source of training going forward.
Right. In addition to all you already offer to the hospital,
Yeah.
which I, thank you guys immensely for. I probably don't thank you enough for. I know you make opportunities to do in-services not only at your participating hospitals, but also the other hospitals that may not be able to activate the program. I know you're willing to help do in-services for them as well, as long as, of course, they have an MOA signed.
So we can actually train. We have been training for a long time at non-participating hospitals. I just want to clarify, they don't have to have an MOA for that. We can actually offer that. Yeah, it's just for the SAFE training that we have to have the MOA.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. Thank you, Mariel. Any questions for Mariel? Okay. Charmise. I had asked Charmise if she could provide a little bit of an update from the commission's perspective on a project the commission's working on for training.
Thanks, Denise. The commission is working on a few things, and it feels some days like things keep on coming from left field at the commission. But one of the things that we talked about initially was making the technical guidelines more user-friendly, right? Making it so that there weren't so many questions going to Denise and going to Danielle over at the lab, and less questions that the victim advocates from Beth's organization have to deal with, like, on the fly, and there's all these questions around. And so we thought that like if we started to develop almost like quick like cheat sheets for law enforcement, for medical, for victim advocates, for just different groups that need to access the technical guidelines, we would really be helping out and making that document more user friendly. So one of the ideas that Denise had was to essentially create photos of some of the procedures, because it's written in heavily medical terms, right? When you read through technical guidelines, it's thick. It's a few nights of bedtime reading, even for me. So it just takes a lot to kind of absorb it and take it in. And so we took the idea of doing photos and went one step further, and now we're doing videos. And Dr. Casper has a simulator that he uses through his OBGYN practice. And I guess his practice is now affiliated with Yale, right? So
yes.
Yale allowed him to use the simulator, and we're going in and using the simulator, doing videos of the step-by-step procedure of the sexual assault care. So for people that can't read it and kind of grasp and digest what they should be doing or what's going on, they can now watch a video that'll say, at this step you're doing this, and at that step you're doing that. And then
That's
we're also
amazing. Like, I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, and to be honest, Marielle, I haven't seen any of the videos yet or any of the snippets, but I think it's great, and it's really nice that it's not anything like I almost think back to like where like dolls were used or simulate, you know what I mean? Like technology is kind of caught up with some things. So I'm really curious to see how it comes across. And then Joy has been working on a table of contents for the technical guidelines just to make that easier, so that it's not just 120 pages of flip through and find things. We're going to have a table of contents. It may make it a little bit longer in the long run, but it'll make it more user friendly. So those are some of the things that are going on.
Thank you so much, Charmise. Does anybody have any questions for what the commission is doing on to make these guidelines more user friendly? So just one thing I just want to clarify. Actually, credit for the idea of taking pictures goes to Linda. It was Linda's original idea that I then relayed to Charmise, and Charmise said, well, why don't we stop there? Why don't we just take videos? So it was an evolution. And so I think, and there has not been yet any videotaping. The script is still being written. Yeah. So, and we had to make sure Dr. Casper, who is OBGYN and the sim lab is OBGYN, we had to make sure he could find a male model, because we're going to cover that as well. But there'll be, and I think end up by 5 6 minute clips. So hopefully, I think that will help.
Yeah, that's just going to be such a resource. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. So any questions about what we've talked about so far, which is a lot? Okay, so just to kind of sort of wrap things up, one last thing I'll bring up under training is that we are working on a contract to hire to contract to the branch for additional instructors and trainers. We have been using just those within the SAFE program, and the need is really to go beyond that. So Linda has helped. Linda and I have kind of written a contract that purchasing now has for review. So hopefully that will be done and out in time for the spring class. The clinicals start in May. So I'm hoping to have some folks outside of the program that can start joining us. And once we get these folks, we're actually making sure that everybody's trained to the same things, teaching the same things, being very consistent about knowing where to go to find things in the technical guidelines. And I'm really hoping that over the next year or two, we will really see a sea change in the knowledge base of healthcare out there. And it's just all these different loose ends that are kind of sort of starting to come together. and you can kind of sort of see what's happening, it's very exciting. Before we get to new business, does anybody have any final questions? Because that was a lot of information that we just talked about. Okay. So for new business, we're going to start to wrap things up. I know we've been talking about some of these same topics for now a number of meetings, but we are tying up the pamphlet and the brochure and the website. We will be introducing new topics, such as the MOAs, a little bit more information about them and how to really expand on a statewide basis. And other resources, and we'll start to update with the videos and everything with CHA training. So my question that I would like to put out there for you all under new business is not for tonight, but for the May meeting. What I'd like to ask is for you all, as the advisory committee to the SAFE program, what do you think we're not covering? What are we missing? We've been doing a lot of talking. I've been doing a lot of talking, and thank you to those of you who have really brought other things to the table and information and dialogue. But we really want to know what else does this committee need to look at and work on? So as we move forward, that's going to be the question, and that's going to be on the agenda for the May meeting. Which is May 11th. So it is the second Wednesday, I believe, of May. I will take the question came up about the September meeting, and so I know that's kind of a little bit down the road a ways, but I do want to explain that is not the second Wednesday of the month. It is actually a Thursday, and the reason for that is because the second Wednesday of the month, the 14th of September, is actually a SAFE training day, which was set long ago. So that's why that change was made. So I'll just give that by way of explanation. Anything else for new business?
I think this actually goes I don't know if it's new, but what about the Hartford Healthcare grant that was supposedly being applied for, whatever that was, several, maybe even last year. I can't remember.
To the best of my knowledge, I'm going to go out on a limb and tell you that I don't think that happened. What I heard in several meetings through the International Association of Forensic Nurses is that list actually was not made public. There was a question about why the grant list was not made public. And I have not checked back in some time, but it was supposed to have been public. Usually is. So we're not quite sure why that was. But I have not heard myself anything about it. Linda, have you heard anything?
What do you mean by public? You mean open to everybody to apply?
No. There's usually a list of awards that is a public list that you can actually go on the HRSA website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's not there.
Wasn't it put on pause, the grant? I don't remember why.
Maybe because of lack of federal funding.
I think that's what I heard, but it's been a very long time, as Alexis pointed out. Like, I kind of forgot about this, to be honest.
I did too.
So, but I thought
you mean the funding was put on hold, so they may have applied for it, but there was no decision. Not that they didn't apply, or we don't know.
I think the grant got put on hold. I'm not sure where in the application process if that paused submissions or not. I just don't know.
Since Alexis raised that, why don't we put that on the agenda for an update, and instead of kind of speculating or what we think we might know, at the May 11th meeting, we can actually provide an answer to that. So thank you for remembering that, actually, because I think so we'll get that information and give a report.
If we can. It's still not out there. Last I checked a couple of months ago, it was like before the holidays, I did check because I was interested in knowing myself, and there was nothing out there on the website.
I'm gonna look into this too, because I haven't heard that nurse's name in a while, and I wonder if she retired because of all the COVID stuff, and there were a lot of changes in administration, so it may have just been dropped.
So, but we can certainly take a look at the HRSA website.
Right, got it.
So, anything else for new business?
Something totally unrelated, and I don't know if Charmise is even paying attention, but I noticed she had happy birthday balloons in the bag, so I just thought I would. I had a birthday on Friday, so I'm always nosy about other March birthdays. So if her birthday was around now, happy birthday to a fellow March birthday.
Happy birthday, Marielle. It was yesterday.
Oh, well, happy birthday to both of you.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Yeah,
We're
that's
the
cool.
swimmers and dreamers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, okay. So if there's nothing else, we will adjourn the meeting at 3:11.
Thanks,
And we will
See you next time.
see you all in May.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone, and happy birthday.